Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you as always for tuning in to the channel. Today I wanted to try something a bit different and share with you some books that I want to read by the end of the month. Of course, the end of the month being January, not December when this video goes up. I want to read these books going into January, so I have 3 here. And I figured we may as well start from the top. Obviously, this is Stephen King's The Green Mile. I'm not exactly sure which edition of the book this is. Of course, The Green Mile came out years and years and years ago, and the movie, I think, came out in 1994. So this was obviously a copy published after that, but I loved the movie. I've never read the book, and as you can see, I've already started with The Green Mile. I am currently on chapter 5, and I picked this up from a thrift store because I have always been a big believer in thrifting books, and I just think it's really fun to go to thrift stores in my area and see what's there, what catches my eye, because I never go to these stores and have an idea of what I'm looking for, because you'll never find what you're looking for if you actually want to find it. So I just go to these thrift stores and I see what I can find, and if something sticks out to me, I pick it up. So I was at the thrift store, I saw this on the shelf. It was $1.50, and the book was in decent condition. It's obviously an older copy. The pages are quite yellow, even with the yellow light that I have. These pages without that are still quite aged, and I actually really like the way older books feel. I like the aged paper, and I think they use different paper in these older books, and I just figured the book was in too good of a copy, too good of a condition to just sit there on the shelf, so I thought I might pick it up and bring it home, because again, I loved the movie. I've never read the book, and I am really enjoying it so far. I don't want to get too deep into a review, because I might save that for a future video, maybe in January. But this was originally purchased from Walmart, it seems. There's an old sticker on the back here. List price was $7.99, and this was sold for $5.99. That is quite an old sticker, so I don't know if that was the original, if this was sold new that way, or if this was a used book even then. But down here it's got what is that called? The ratings for movies. I forget what they're called. It's like MSBA or something like that. But it's just got all the production details in here. It has Tom Hanks, some of the other cast members as well. Of course, up here we have the critic reviews from Entertainment Weekly. Read this history-making serial novel from cliffhanger to cliffhanger in its entirety. When it first appeared, our volume per month, Stephen King's The Green Mile, was an unprecedented publishing triumph. all 6 volumes ended up on the New York Times bestseller list simultaneously and delighted millions of fans the world over. So I didn't know that this was published in 6 different volumes like that. Of course, this came out before I was even born, so how could I? Let's see here. The Green Mile. Welcome to Cold Mountain Penitentiary, home to the depression-worn men of E Block. Convicted killers all, each awaits his turn to walk the Green Mile, keeping a date with Old Sparky, Cold Mountain's electric chair. Prison guard Paul Edgecombe has seen his share of oddities in his years working the mile, but he's never seen anyone like John Coffey, a man with the body of a giant and the mind of a child, condemned for a crime terrifying in its violence and shocking in its depravity. In this place of ultimate retribution, Edgecombe is about to discover the terrible, wondrous truth about Coffey, a truth that will challenge his most cherished beliefs and yours. Of course, I won't spoil anything if you haven't read the book or seen the movie, even though this book is definitely up there in age. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it is a very, very good story. This will be my first time ever experiencing Stephen King's writing firsthand. I've only ever seen it in the movies that they make, based on his work. So I'm really enjoying it so far. This will be the first book that I read this month, as I've already started, as you can see by the art card that I use. This is basically a promotional card from one of the many, many decks of cards that I have. I use those as bookmarks. Now, this next book I found is Life and Death in Shanghai. This was one that I just saw on the shelf and sounded really, really interesting to me. This is a memoir, I believe, from Nein Chang. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this is the extraordinary story of an extraordinary woman who, despite 6.5 years of imprisonment and torment in communist China, not only survived, but endured and even prevailed. So it is I believe it is a memoir, or maybe a biography, about this woman who was imprisoned in China, and her stories about being a prisoner of war, basically. I have not read anything about this book. It just sounded really interesting. I saw it on the shelf like this, and I read the title, and I just said, wow, that sounds really interesting, and I want to make an effort to read more non-fiction books. So this one really stood out to me. Again, this is an older book. It's not quite as old as the Green Mile over there, but it's still got the aged paper, which I just love. I love the way it feels. I love the way it looks. I even like the way it smells. So I do love me some aged paper. Let's find out what this book is all about. In August 1966, a group of Red Guards ransacked the home of Nein Chang. Her background made her an obvious target for the fanatics of the Cultural Revolution. Educated in London, the widow of an official of Chiang Kai-shek's regime, an employee of Shell Oil, Nein Chang enjoyed comforts that few of her compatriots could afford. When she refused to confess that any of this made her an enemy of the state, she was placed in solitary confinement, where she would remain for more than 6 years. Life and Death in Shanghai is the powerful story of Nein Chang's imprisonment, of the deprivation she endured, of her heroic resistance and her quest for justice when she was released. It is the story, too, of a country torn apart by the savage fight for power. Mao Zedong launched in his campaign to topple party moderates, and I am struggling to read this, I don't know why. An incisive, rare personal account of a terrifying chapter in 20th century history. Life and Death in Shanghai is also an astounding portrait of one woman's courage. At the heart of this book is not the darkest of this cell, but the light of Nein Chang's mind. The keenness of her thought and expression is such that it constitutes some form of martial art, and that, of course, is a quote from the New York Times. So, I don't know why I struggled so much to read part of that. I apologize. I believe it's because it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I have not as much time to make these videos as I once did, but this is Life and Death in Shanghai. I will be reading this second. I'm very excited to get to this, and we have a bunch of critical acclaim for this autobiography here on the front page. The Los Angeles Times says, a moving affirmation of the capacity for human endurance as well as a valuable chronicle of the traumatic events she lived through. The Milwaukee Journal says, even if it were not so extraordinarily well written, this book would be extraordinary for what it reveals about the human capacity for courage and endurance. Houston Chronicle says, her book is unquestionably one of the best ever written about the Cultural Revolution period. This is from a New York Times writer by J.M. Coetzee. Life and Death in Shanghai is an absorbing story of resourcefulness and courage. It also provides fascinating insights into the thought reform in Mao's China. So you can, you can't actually tell very well because of the orange lighting, but this is definitely an older book, but it is not in bad condition at all. I mean, there's some rough edges here or there on the bottom, and I think there may have been some tape here at one point, but this is, I have no problem with a cover that's got a little bit of age to it, but these pages are very well maintained. So this book was very clearly read, and I think it was enjoyed frequently, judging by the condition it's in. But that is Life and Death in Shanghai. That will be my second book this month. And my third book is brand new. I just got this for Christmas. Actually, this is The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. And I really actually do like that this looks like a record on the front. Obviously, Rick Rubin is a renowned music producer, and like the cover of this is just very, very cool. This is a hardcover book, of course, and it's got a very, I don't even know how to describe it. It's got an interesting texture to it. There's like an indent here where the record decal works, but this is effectively Rick Rubin's guide or thought process on just being creative and making art, basically. We have a quote at the front: the objective isn't to make art, it is to be in that wonderful state which makes art inevitable. So we have 78 areas of thought, and there's a lot of things in here that I'm very excited to get to. I obviously can't show you all of it, but I want to share this bit at the front here that I found really, really interesting. It says, Nothing in this book is known to be true. It's a reflection on what I've noticed, not facts so much as thoughts. Some ideas may resonate, others may not. A few may awaken an inner knowing you forgot you had. Use what's helpful, let go of the rest. Each of these moments is an invitation to further inquiry, looking deeper, zooming out or in, opening possibilities for a new way of being. So, that is something that I have struggled with all my life. I've always been drawn to the arts and to writing specifically. I have always been a writer to some degree. I've always been creating stories in my head, and I asked for this for Christmas in the hopes that it will make me more productive in my creative pursuits. So maybe for once in all my years, I will actually finish a creative endeavor. But that, of course, is to be seen. But that is the third book I will be reading this month. So, for a final review, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, Life and Death in Shanghai by Nein Chang, and The Green Mile by Stephen King. I know this video was a bit different from some of the things I normally do, but I hope you did enjoy. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I hope to speak with you all again very soon. Goodbye for now.